This is where magic meets time management. Are you ready? Hello, I'm Zandra the Witch, and I made this book, Lunar Logbook. And today we're going to talk about defining your projects for the month, or rather, for the moon cycle up ahead. Ding, ding, ding. So I come to moon magic from a patriarchal perspective because before I was interested in magic, overtly systemic magic. I was mostly interested in productivity and tasks and getting things done, and I still am. And now I like to combine the two. So I was experiencing this phenomenon as a teenager because that's when I was really interested in learning about this stuff for the first time. I would work really hard and exert a lot of effort, and then at a certain point, I would just crash and burn out and would be really hard on myself for not being able to sustain a rapid pace forever. And when I started learning about nature's cycles and the phases of the moon and how to apply those things, it gave me some structure around a concept I was already familiarizing myself with of like, you do need to rest sometime. So better to schedule in your rest than to let rest schedule itself in the form of burnout. So I was already there in the middle. I was already at this point of, rest is important. But when I brought in the moon magic stuff and the cyclical living stuff, that's when the epiphany happened that rest isn't something that you just have to arbitrarily schedule in. There are rhythms to how the world works with this energy of rest and speeding up um, and labor that you can just follow. The map is made for you, and the more that you are attentive to those natural energies of what you're going to feel inclined to do, what we as a collective are going to feel inclined to do. You don't always have to go with it, but know when you're going with it, you'll be supported. And when you have to go against it, or when you choose to go against it, it's just going to be harder. So what I like to do is take those same productivity practices that I was doing when I was gamifying my life and just slot them into the phases of the moon for best practice so that they're best supported with the timings of the universe. So I'll show you an example of how I set up my calendar. These are blank in Lunar Logbook, and then I filled in how I wanted to fill them in. And I just put the Gregorian months here because they pretty much line up that way. They don't exactly line up that way this year, but as you can see, this is mostly, what's going on here? Okay, so it starts on September 21st. That's the new moon in Virgo. And this is a weird month because Virgo season is just right there. I've done color coding for that. And then October starts here. So it's in the second week of this layout, but this is October-y enough. And I like to have a combination of the lunar calendar and the Gregorian calendar because when I'm at the dentist and they're asking when to book my next appointment, they're not going to say Libra season. So I like to have a combination of both. This works for me. So the reason I'm bringing this up is to just illustrate. This is the new moon. I always start my monthly calendar on the new moon. And then this is the first quarter moon. It'll be approximately a week later. And what I like to do is take that entire week to define my projects for the month. And I do 4 set projects for the month. Now, here is what I really want you to take away from this. These are not projects that you are making up or adding on to your existing responsibilities. These are things that you're already doing. And the point of this projects page is to contain those things that you're already doing, so you're not holding them in your head and constantly going about your day being like, oh yeah, I have to do that, I have to do that, and like this is this month. These are things you're already doing, or getting cosmic, these are things that haven't been presented to you yet that you're already doing. For example, last year at the Taurus new moon, I was being really good about taking my own advice, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with these 4 projects. Like I think I filled maybe one of them in the first couple of days of the new moon. I usually have a sense, I have like some ideas around then, sometimes before the new moon, but a couple of days were going by and I was like, nope, don't know. And I know I'm not supposed to be making something up because that's what that's what I do. And then I logged back onto Instagram because I always delete Instagram from my phone during the new moon to have some inner peace and time to step away from all of that, and then also reflect on what I enjoy from that space, so that when I go back into it, it's with intentionality. Because you do need to pause, in my opinion, to gain that clarity, especially because things are moving so fast. We could do a whole other video on lunar log off, which is what I call that practice. But I logged back onto Instagram and I saw I had an invitation to perform at the Hard Rock Cafe, which ironically, this was not planned. And it was not in Krakow, unfortunately. It was here in Edinburgh. And it was going to be later that month because it was for the Eras Tour tie-in. I would be doing Taylor Swift songs. And I did do Taylor Swift songs. It was so much fun. But I had less than a moon cycle to prepare and to come up with a whole set list. And, you know, this was my first concert in years. So that was why those spaces were empty, because they very quickly became filled up with this big endeavor. And I felt very proud of myself for being like, aha, that's why I do that, because then opportunities show up. And so I felt called to come on to this video, to make this video today, because I don't know what my 4th project is for this month, and the first quarter moon is tomorrow. And even though I'm like, wait until the first quarter moon to really define things, I usually have a better idea by this point. And sometimes, like, just to go back to my old productivity self, I would have thought really hard about it and forced it and changed it a bunch of times. Or actually, here's what I would have actually done. I would have just defined my projects and then gotten going and then never reviewed whether these are the right areas to put my attention on. That is the biggest that is the biggest problem. I'm very good at finishing what I start to a fault. And so it's like 8 months later and I'm like, why am I still doing this thing? Well, because I said I would do this thing and I am true to my word. And so now I'm just being more decisive about what I'm promising myself. So yeah, I don't know. I'm decorated it really pretty, and I spilled coffee on it as well. Like immediately I was making an Instagram. So you can find this on my Instagram at Zandra the Witch. I was taking a pretty picture and I was saying I'm gonna log off for the Aries new moon eclipse. See you on the other side. And then splat. Eclipse is eclipsing. Expect the unexpected. Expect messiness and chaos. But it kind of informed this scribblery of how I've decorated this page. I drew this in my own handwriting for you to fill in, and it is designed to be both productive and constructive, and like these are the main elements to a moon journal that I use in my personal practice and recommend. But it's also designed like a coloring book so that you can scribble around it and add your own flair, because that stuff is just as important as the words that you write down and the tasks and the projects that you write down, because it is setting the mood. And sometimes the mood isn't something that can be articulated, or if you tried to articulate it too early, you wouldn't be drawing on all of your centers of wisdom. So, my projects for this month, and here's the issue. I know I'm most excited in my work to get the Quarter Moon Club started. I've wanted to start this for pretty much as long as I started designing Lunar Logbook over a year ago now. This is a community that is for everyone who's using a Lunar Logbook, because I made this for my own purposes, but then I was like, I think people will find this useful as well, and I want to be there with you as you're exploring and learning how to do this and playing and making art. And so I created this space, this Discord, where we check in every quarter moon and share how's it going in the lunar world. And the reason that we do this is because that helps us ground our own practices. And so I say that there are two main issues around working with the moon, like the two barriers to entry are, one, remembering to do it, because our society is not, for the most part, designed around the lunar cycles. You have to add that in. And so just changing the structure of that with this book has helped me a lot. And then two, the other thing that makes it difficult to do moon magic is feeling weird about doing it, or like you're alone in doing it and you're like, oh, I had to go do this weird thing, but it's still like just me in my room. Well, not anymore, because you're invited to join the Quarter Moon Club. And not only will you have people there with you as you're doing these practices at each of these key checkpoints in the lunar cycle, but we'll learn from each other, because so much of this is just adapting what is out there in guidance, including my guidance, adapting it to what works for you. It's all about tuning into how you relate to this and what best supports you as you tell your lunar story and work with the moon. And then we can learn from each other in like those personalized aspects. I'm really excited for that. So I am making membership cards. I've already made membership cards because that was one of those projects that was really clear to me, and I just sat down and did it because that's what I felt like doing. But I need to send them out to those of you who already have a lunar logbook, who are part of the OG club, who, you know, they're ready to go for the new ones that that will go out to shops and go out to new loving homes. But I have to send some snail mail out to people who already have a lunar logbook, because I didn't have the club ready to go with the books. Okay, and then, yeah, so making the cards and distributing the cards. And then I have important theme parks project. That's number one. Booking my theme parks for my US trip. And then for number 4, I could do like retail in the US, but I already have 2 work projects here and I want to balance it as much as possible. So I'm going to see if something that's more fun and juicy and personal pops up. One month I did something really fun where I was like, was this the Pisces new moon? It feels like a Pisces new moon thing. No, it was before that. I was like, I have a bunch of things going in my fun reading list. Yeah, finish fun. And I want to just wrap those up. And so each of the tasks was one of those things, like finishing season 3 of Succession and finishing the Refine Your Devices course, which was really life-changing for organizing my digital files and life. So yeah, I don't know what my 4th project is, but I am making this video to tell you that you don't have to know what your fourth project is either, if it's not the first quarter moon yet. And actually, I will confess something. I have written things there and I've erased them a couple of times. So I'm not perfect, but I do prepare by using erasable pens, and that's what matters. So maybe one day I'll meet you in the Quarter Moon Club and you can ask me, what was that fourth project? And I'll be like, I don't even remember. It was kind of insignificant. Or, you know, it could be life-changing. I don't know, but we're in the mystery together today. So if you would like your own copy of Lunar Logbook, you can go to lunarlogbook.com. You can click the link in the description for this video. And your Lunar Logbook includes membership to the Quarter Moon Club. It's for all the quarter moons, including every quarter of the moon. The new moon, the first quarter moon, the full moon, and the last quarter moon. I said first quarter moon because that's the one that we're in right now, that we're talking about right now. You know, this is kind of like a moon. All right, I'm gonna go. See you next time.